So yes, of course, on Thursday, as you can see, price went marvelously. Why was it moving marvelously? Because it's respecting the 714 method. Why does this strategy work? Because there's a manipulation before a what? A continuation. So this strategy uses that manipulation tactic, right? Meaning after that time passes, price is going to manipulate a lot of traders into thinking it's going to go to the downside, right? So that it will now pick the upward move and shoot all the way up. And that is just it. About 10K loss on the 714 method, but that wasn't a problem because I know the strategy made me more than that. Have you watched my trades in 2025 using this strategy? I was making thousands and thousands of dollars on it, right? A lot of money. All right, guys. So today the question is, does the 714 method actually works? Because I've seen this message that someone asked me, why is my chart always clean with the 714 method? Trust me, my charts are always messy like this, but I just have a different place that I actually trade the 714 method, which is this chart right here, right? So here I make it clean so that I can just understand the 714 method much, much more better. But this place is very, very what? Messy, right? So how do I trade the 714 method? Let's look at it and see does it still work in 2026. So obviously, I do have an indicator for the 714 method, which is this right here. I created this indicator just to mark the lines of the 714 method. So you can see that it has already marked the lines of the 714 method. Now, if you've been following my trades, you realize that last week I actually missed this trade right here. It was a 7-1 formatted trade as well, but I actually missed it, right? So let's go ahead. I'm going to explain how the 7-1 formatted is doing so far in 2026, right? So that you can actually judge for yourself whether it still works or not. So it's the same thing. I apply this two lines on it. If you're someone who is new to this channel, you don't know how the 7-1 formatted works. So this first line right here is obviously, let me take this out so that right. So it's a very simple strategy. You just have to listen, understand what I'm saying, and start executing, right? It's a very, very simple strategy. You don't need to complicate this. So this first line, when you look below this zone right here, as I place this on this line, you realize that it's on 11 a.m. That's because my time is UTC plus zero, right? So 11 a.m. UTC plus zero. Yeah. So let me just pick something so that I can write how the strategy works, right? So we have 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Right. So you mark this two lines on 11 a.m. first one, and the second line on what 12 p.m. And that is all. If you mark it, the only thing you have to do is look inside in between that line on a 5 minute chart. What happened? The price moved downwards inside this range, or the price moved upward, right? So that is just the only thing you need to understand. The if price moved upward in between this range, you are supposed to do a sell. If price move downward in between this range, you are supposed to do what? Buy. And that is it. You are supposed to stress yourself with this strategy. So I can't really go far enough to explain it because it will take a lot of time. So we are just going to start from Monday so that I'll explain it all the way back. Now, be mindful, I don't use this strategy always anymore. I used to use it every single day, right? But I don't really use it that much again. Why? Not because it doesn't work, but because I just have a lot of strategies. Some strategies can give me a lot of profits, right? And it might also join with the 714 method, but still, I might just choose to do what? Trade that strategy instead. So let's look at Monday. What happened? Obviously, you can see that within this range, which is the 714 method zone, you can see that price is in an uptrend, right? So price is in an uptrend within this zone right here. So if price is in an uptrend, you look for three things to use to execute your trade. You look to the left, which is the price that has already printed, and you do what? You find those three things, which is a fair value gap, support and resistance, and an order block. That is all. You know, I've never changed this. That is exactly what you use to trade the 714 method, right? So since we are in an uptrend, remember if price has already tested a particular zone within the 714 method, try your best and avoid it, right? Or wait for a confirmation before you execute. So if we've pulled this all the way through, you realize that the 714 method stops by testing this level right here. So this was a zone that the 714 method tested. So meaning all the other blocks inside here are no longer valid for you to use to execute your sell, right? The only valid other block is the one that it has not been tested, which is this and this FEG, this right here. So right now you go ahead and mark the other block that price hasn't really tested, which is this zone right here. Now, my other blocks are marked based on the last candle, right? So if I'm going to mark the last candle of the trend, it's going to be this right here. You can choose to mark your other blocks by using the last sell candle or wherever you want, right? So this is where you execute your trade with the 714 method. Remember, if it's in an uptrend, you sell. If it's in a buy, if it's in a downtrend, you do what? You buy, right? And that's it. So you go ahead and execute your sell inside this zone right here, right? Very simple. So stop loss goes above it and you target the next low for your first TP. Remember, I've never told you to target the overall low as what's first TP, right? Always target the next low. So this is the next low. You target it as your what? Your first TP, which is this one right here. So usually 1:4, right? And you target the last TP as your what? Your overall low. So which is this one right here. Now, obviously, you realize that price wouldn't have really gotten to that overall low before coming all the way up to take. It did not really take you out, but if you're at break even, it would have actually did, right. But yes, it would have taken a longer period of time before price will hit the second TP, which would have been around this zone right here. But yes, obviously, as you can see, it's the same analysis, same strategy. Prices in an uptrend, you look to sell, you use three things: fair value gap, support and resistance, and an order block. If a level is already tested, you don't trade based on that, or you wait for a break. After price comes to it, you wait for another confirmation because a tested level is a what? A broken level, right? So price has already tested this. So in this range, there's only this other block that we could use. Otherwise, this fair value gaps above here. So that was it. That was it for Monday. Obviously, as you can see, a very simple trade. 1:6, almost 1:7. You could have still be holding the trade all the way down, right? Simple. Now, if you've looked at Tuesday, obviously you realize that I was looking for a sell and I did not even get the sell, right. That is why I told you that I use other strategies too that are kind of a little bit superior to the 714 method, right? So I was looking for this sell all the way down, even though the 714 method was telling me to buy, right? But I was looking for this sell. So why was I looking for this sell? Let's look at the 714 method. Let's concentrate on that. So you realize that the 714 method was in a downtrend. As you can see, it's in a downtrend. So if it's in a downtrend, I'm looking forward to buying all the way up. But obviously, I can also see that price has tested this other block right here. So price has already tested this. So we look for the next other block within this range to our left to actually use, right. Pick this 714 method or the move here. You can pick it. This is the 714 method right there, and you map it all the way through. Anything that it has tested, you don't really need to use it again. So you realize that it has tested a lot here, but there's a fair value gap here. It did not test it. There's also an other block here. It did not test it. So this is nearest to the what the 714 method, and that should have been what you will use to execute your trade, which is the fair value gap right here. So something like this. Sorry. So something like this. Yes, you could have been in your trade around this zone right here. Fine enough, that was where I was already looking forward to buying before the 714 method kicked in, right? So you could have been in a trade right here, which you would have gotten a lost, right? Which you, sorry about that. So this would have been a buy somewhere here. So something like this, right? This would have been a buy. Obviously, this is a 7-1 formatted. So the first high it should be here. 1:1. Second high somewhere here. And probably target the overall high if you are still in the trade, right? But yes, it could have been a loss. Now, why was I looking forward for a sell from the 7-1 formatted? Now, obviously, by looking at the trend, you could already see why, because price was creating enough liquidity below this one right here. And this liquidity could not even push price to take out this high right there, right? So if that doesn't happen, what price is going to do is going to sweep a couple of highs and then drop, right? So when you look closely, you realize that price was in a downtrend here, give a major sell-off, swept the high, and obviously just changed character and started shooting down. So this was a change of character right here. I just needed a little bit push back up into the zone so I could sell, and I'll target this last low as my TP, because price is definitely telling me that it wants to fall, right? So that's just by the way. I shouldn't be talking about this because we are talking about the 7-1 format, right? So obviously you will have lost a trade on what? On Tuesday, right? So let's go to Wednesday. Wednesday, I did get a trade, a very nice trade, and you could already see what happened. So price was in a downtrend, even though this was kind of a consolidational. Price was in an uptrend, even though it was kind of a consolidational what uptrend, right? Why is it a consolidational uptrend? You can see where price started down, up, somewhere here, and close above this. So this is a consolidational uptrend. And since it's a consolidational uptrend, I should be looking forward to selling all the way back down. Well, you can see that this was generating a lot of liquidity. So that is why I did not target the last low of the trend, because there was just a lot of liquidity in mind, right? But obviously, I did wait for price to give me a confirmation before I execute. I executed this trade, I think, around somewhere here. Yeah, around somewhere here. Took my first TP. Price came and took me out at break even, right? So I did not really trade it necessarily here. If you watch my videos, you see me complaining about this trade. So yes, price was in an uptrend. So since it's in an uptrend right here within the 7-1 formatted range, what you do is you find your fair value gap, support and resistance, and an order block to actually execute a sell back down, right? So first things first, just mark the highest point of the 7-1 formatted, extend it. So that if you extend it, sorry about that. So that if you extend it, you know the levels that the 7-1 formatted has tested already, so that you not use that level. So if price test this OB right here, I shouldn't be looking forward to selling the 714 method again, right? Simple as that. So you realize that this is the order block right here. Price did not test the other block. So meaning this other block is still a ripe zone for me to use as my sell entry, right? Now, if price had actually tested this other block, then I probably would have been using maybe this, or looking forward to using something over here, right? But yes, that was it. Price moved in the direction. I actually made a couple of money from this before price ended up reversing all the way up, right? But this was a 1:6. Even though I did not get in here, I waited for an confirmation. Price dropped somewhere here before I got in, and price reversed again. So yes, that was what happened on what Wednesday as well. Price did move a lot on Wednesday. Yeah, price did move a lot, especially after the 7-1 formator, right? So yes, you do realize that it still works. You just have to choose trades that you think are quite important and trades that you think are not really that important to you, right? Why? Because sometimes, especially this past month, it has been volatile a lot. The market has been volatile. So the 7-1 formatted gave a lot of wrong trades, right? But right now that the market is calm, it's back to giving good trades. So obviously, you can see that this right here was Thursday. What happened? All you need to do is just look inside this zone. What do you see happening, right? So you can see price gave a high, a low, a level right here. So indicating that price is in a what? A downtrend. If price is in a downtrend, what do? You search for your levels to execute your trade, support and resistance, fair value gap, and on other blocks. So first things first, pick this last low that price created, which is somewhere here. Extend it to your right so that you know the things that you are supposed to use and the things that you're not supposed to use. If it touch something that you were supposed to use, it's no longer valid, right? Simple. I've always said it. So we can see that it touches this fair value gap. So this fair value gap is no longer valid for us to use to trade. Remember, you are using fair value gap support and resistance and another block closer to the 714 method to execute your trade. So in this case, the only place that you could have used, which is closer to the other block, is this FEG right here. So you are waiting for price to come back into this for you to start your buys, which is quite extremely easy for you to understand. You don't really have to stress yourself when you are trading the 714 method. Now, the nearest high is the high of the 714 method. So you take your first TP there, take your second TP at the zone right here. If you are still in the trade, I've always told you, I do take two trades every single time I'm getting into a trade. So if you are the one that takes only one trade, then you should probably be out when price hit the 714 meters high, which is around somewhere here. But if you are like me, I'll be out around somewhere here. If you are someone who actually holds trades for a very long time, you could still be targeting this high or just sorry about that, or just this demand zone right here. Sorry, or just sorry, this supply zone right here, right? So yes, of course, on Thursday, as you can see, price went marvelously. Why was it moving marvelously? Because it's respecting the 714 method. Why does this strategy work? Because there's a manipulation before a what, a continuation. So this strategy uses that manipulation tactic, right? Meaning after that time passes, price is going to manipulate a lot of traders into thinking it's going to go to the downside, right? So that it will now pick the upward move and shoot all the way up. And that is just it. So it worked on Thursday as well. Marvelous trade. You could have executed it. Friday, this is the trade that I did not actually take. This is a trade that I did not actually take right now. I do have my reasons why I did not take the trade, even though if I was going to use the 714 method, which I wasn't using on Friday, I would have taken a trade on this pair, right, on gold, but I wasn't using the 714 method, and I was also waiting for a confirmation. I did not get that confirmation, and what I did next was just ignore the total trend, right? So first as first, let me explain why I did not get into the trade. So you can see that price was in a downtrend. Sorry, let me just take this out so that I can actually just mark this fast. So price was in a downtrend. You can see a market structure shift right here, a low created, another low created. So this trend right here was supposed to take out this. But I can see that it's generating a lot of liquidity and it couldn't even push down, right? So what price is going to do is, because it's a weak trend, price is going to take out its high. And it's taking out its high is supposed to tap into a supply zone, which is having enough liquidity to do what? To shoot price down to take out this overall low right here. Simple as that. So when price was inside here moving, I knew if we can't take out this zone, then obviously we are going to take out this high before the drop. And which level is closer, which supply zone is closer to that high? Obviously, this sell candle right here. That is the OB. So when price gets into the OB, I should be selling right now. Yes, this was what I was looking for. I was looking for to sell here. But also, I waited for a confirmation after price broke through, giving me this FEG somewhere here. So I wanted price to come a little bit back into this FEG so that I could sell from there, right? And yes, price did come back to it, but because of this drop, I just refused to trade it. If you watch my past trade, you see that I refuse. I just refuse to trade this. I just refuse to trade this market, right? Because price did come to it, but I just refuse to trade it. So yes, this was the analysis I was using prior to the 714 method. So yes, it was a good analysis, even though I should have just entered the sniper here, which would have been much more better, right? But I didn't. So that's just by the way. Let's look at the 714 method. By looking at it, you already know it worked, right? It worked marvelously. You could have been in the trade and you would have been severely profitable, right? So you can see that what happened on Friday was very simple. Price was in an uptrend. So if price is in an uptrend, which is this right here, what do? You mark your levels. You find levels that you are going to use to do what? To execute your trade. So first things first, mark the highest point of the 714 method, which is around somewhere here. So if this is the highest point of the 714 method, meaning the 714 method had actually touched the what? The other the break sorry, the fair value gap candle. Sorry, let me take us back to this. All right. So I think I kind of all right. So this is it. So meaning the candle for this FEG right here was tagged. And I've told you if something is tagged, you don't use it again. The FEG right here is tagged. There's an FEG right here, which is also inside another block, which is not tagged. So that is the only place that is valuable, or that is what good enough for you to use, which is the OB, because the FVG has already been tagged. So this is the OB. You execute your sell right there. And immediately price came back into it, and your stop loss should be above here. Remember, always target the low of the 714 meters first. That is if it's fine enough. If it's not fine enough, you can use this low right here, or you can use an external low that is close to it. But if it's fine enough, like 1:1, please use it, because it can also manipulate and just shoot right back all the way up, right? So this as your first TP, you could use this as your second TP, or probably this, or maybe this. Any place after the first TP is taken, anywhere you want to use, you can use as your what, your second TP, right? So you could have used this as your second TP right there. So something like this. Simple as that, right? So this could have been your trade, and price would have not really hit your TP that much. But if your spread was actually big enough, price could have actually hit your TP, right? So this is how the 714 method works. Remember, it's not really a big deal. You just have to take your time. This is how it works. You mark the level, right, which is the 714 method zone. This level right here. Simple as that. Now, if you want this indicator, you can actually comment. I'll try my best and see how to give it to you guys. It's not really a complex indicator, right? So in market like this, within this zone, if we are in an uptrend, then we look to sell back down, right? It's that simple. Also, within this zone, if we are in a downtrend, we look to do what, to buy. The only problem is you guys, a lot of you guys don't know when to buy and when to sell. So if something is tagged like this, some people might still use it. And I've always said it, even times that I was trading the 714 method every single day. I used to say it, even trading it live, I used to say it. Do not use a level that has already been tagged. If it has already been tagged, then wait for a confirmation before you sell, or wait for a confirmation before you buy, because a tapped level or a tagged level is a broken zone, meaning price has already tested it. So there's a high chance price can just break through it, right? So yeah, that was just it's about the 714 method this week. A very nice trade. If you want this, I'll probably try my best and give it to you guys. And let me show you the settings to it. So there's the settings to it. The first hour is on 8. Second hour of the first minute line is on 0. This on 7. This on 0 as well. If you do this, it's going to mark it on this chart just like mine. Your time should rather be at what, UTC, before you do that, right? So yes, that is the 714 method for you. You do realize that it worked marvelously. And yes, I have to tell you that when the market was quite complicated and giving us some serious what's the name, manipulations, the 714 method gave a lot of wrong trades, right? But I do know market was manipulating, so I wasn't really trading it that much, right? Because I know it was manipulating. So obviously you can see what happened. Let's do a recap. This is on what? Monday. Very simple trade. Price is in an uptrend. What do? The reason why I introduced this marking right here is very important, because a lot of you guys don't really see it unless you mark it right. So first things first, price is in an uptrend. Mark the highest point. If the highest point is here, mark it. If it tag any of the places that you're supposed to be selling, which is a fair value gap, support and resistance, or an order block, if it's that price has tagged any of those zones, do not do what? Do not use it. Use another zone that is not tagged. So we can see that price was in an uptrend, tagged this level already, which is the order block. So the next other block that you should be used is this trend right here because there's no fair value gap right here. There's no support and resistance, right? Simple. You get your 1:6 risk to reward trade. After the 1:6 risk to reward trade, on Tuesday, you had a loss. Why? Price was in a downtrend. You are looking forward to buy. Price did not tag this FEG right here. So that was a good zone for you to do what? To buy, right? And since it was a good zone for you to buy, you executed your what? Your buy. What happened? Price took you out. So 1:6 right here, one loss right here. So meaning you are still about five in profit, right? I'm just using the numbers right here. So there's it again. Price is in an uptrend. You look for the level that price has not tagged, meaning just mark the high of the 714 method. If it did not tag the other block, you use it. If it tags it, you use a different other block which is higher than that, or you use a different fair value gap, which is higher than that. This I did get very nice trade, sold all the way down. I got out, price reversed all the way up. Simple concept, simple movement. This right here was on Thursday. Simple analysis, simple execution. What happened? Prices in a downtrend. Mark the place that the 714 meter stopped just to identify wrong zones, right? So you mark here, you shoot it out, you realize that the 714 method has already tagged this FEG. So it's no longer important for you. This is the next FEG that is closer to this. Not this other block, this FEG. This other block is way lower than the FEG. So you use the one closer to it. So execution, TP1 here, TP2 right there. You can hold up to TP3 here. That is if you still have the what? The willingness to do so. This is the exact same thing that happened on Friday. Sorry about the move. I kind of bragged it a little bit too far. This happened on Friday. I was having videos on this. I think this is the last video that I made on gold on Friday. I refused to trade this, but it was marvelous, right? Obviously, as you can see, price was in an uptrend. Tag this fair value gap right here. Obviously, it's no longer important for you. You use the the other block right here. And simple as that, price dropped all the way down. Now, yes, sometimes you do use support and resistance, but the ones that are actually most common is what other block and what fair value gap. That's the most common things to use with the 714 method, right? So, yes, the 714 method does actually work. It does work. And obviously, you should continue trading it. That is, if you are still not profitable, start trading it if you are still not profitable. All right, start trading if you are still not profitable because this is going to make you profitable. And you don't really need to have a complex strategy to be profitable in these markets, right? You just have to have something that works, and the 714 method works. You know where you're going, you know what to do. And if you get a loss, check my last three videos. I had about 10K loss on the 714 method, right? I think my last four videos, right? I had about 10K loss on the 714 method, but that wasn't a problem because I know the strategy made me more than that. Have you watched my trades in 2025 using this strategy? I was making thousands and thousands of dollars on it, right? A lot of money. So yes, the 714 method works. Just take your time and you are going to make it in this market, right? I'll see you guys in the next video. The guy that commented, yes, this is what I use. That's why my chart is always clean. I don't really do everything on one chart, right? You could see me having a lot of gold on my wait list. I'll be having several gold pairs on my wait list, right? Because I trade this type of strategy on this, I trade that type of strategy on that. So that's I don't really mess up my charts that much. But that's just it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys for watching.